Well, hello. New things to learn. Things about humans. Scary shit. So, fear is a funny thing. It does things to you that I didn't have an idea that it could do this sort of stuff. But fear can really fuck with your head in ways that you wouldn't dream of. And it's funny what constitutes fear. I mean, you'd think fear would be a direct attack. But, hi there, I've got a gun, give me your money. That's the end of that. That's not fear. Not the kind of fear I'm talking about. The kind of fear I'm talking about is this unending, undecided, constant, and that constant never changes. And it's getting to me. And you mix that with pain. And pain and fear can take your head and explode it. Didn't know that could happen either. I've always been quite rational. But it's a bit difficult to be rational some days. So I try to work out what is the value of a human. I mean, we consider ourselves valuable. So, if we're valuable, what's the number? So, I mean, the thing is it what you earn? Is it your take-home pay? Is that the number? Is it your asset list? Yeah. Who's with the most toys wins. The value of the toys. Number of children. What is the value of a human being? And when you're finished fucking around with it, and fishing in all these deep ponds of value and asset and your interpretation of who you are, what your values are, and where you're going. Turns out the value of a human being is a lot less than that. So the value of a human being when they've been told you might die in the near term, turns out to be a very small number And it's a number you have no control over. And that is a motherfucker. So the value of the human being at the end of the day comes down to two things. Shit. No, let's put a caveat in there. I suppose it depends where you're measuring the value from. So let's measure the value from my current perspective and the perspective of my oncologist. So my oncologist, what is my value to an oncologist? I mean, he's supposed to be my doctor, right? So it's his job to cure me. It's his job to take me under his wing and give me certain things, and he's here to cure me. He's here to provide me a long-term solution. Well, it takes a while to get to see these things, but if your oncologist is trying to cure you, then he's the dumbest fucking oncologist on the planet. Because it's not his job to cure you. And if he does, he's fucking it up. And when I figured that out, I nearly fell off my chair. So an oncologist has to work out how many doses of an incredibly expensive poison he can get into me. Not too much, not too little. And it has to be enough and work well enough to give me hope. That's the oncologist's job. And the better the oncologist, the larger the number of times he can get you round that tree without you dying. So at some point, the oncologist's box of tricks empties. And there's no new drug, or the stuff's metastasized and it's gone somewhere else, and it's eating a different piece of you. Eventually it's going to get to the point where it's going to be eating more than you're fixing, so that's end game. So the thing is, how many times can the oncologist take you around the tree, feeding you a poison that, from a certain perspective, can actually cure you? And in some cases, with some people, it actually does. So there's the hope. Everybody starts out with hope. Hope's not a particularly good strategy, but they do start out with hope. But your value is the number of injections you can tolerate before your body stops responding. And that's your monetary value. No more, no less. Doesn't have shit to do with anything, just that. Now that's a scary thought, because it means your oncologist, your savior, the person who is supposed to give you hope, the will to live, the tools with which to fight this terrible thing. And if he gives you all those things, he's going to go out of business. Oh, fuck. Yeah, well, I suppose that's how the world works. Yeah. Opposites. So anyway, this is about more than just the value of the human being. This is about the kind of steps I've had to take that change my value for me. So at the beginning of this thing, when I posted on the group, there's going to be a name and a short little description on things that'll help you decode what I'm about to say, because if you say this, they put you in the bad boy box and tell you you're not allowed to do anything. So as it turns out, there's very nice medicine available. And this medicine, well, it's kind of been around for a while, but not really. It's sort of fairly newish in this environment. And this medicine does what most of the new cancer medicines do. They attack the cancer from a physical vulnerability in the cancer. They don't necessarily kill it, but they do prevent it from overwhelming. And it's very, very popular. So they do a search in your blood, in the stuff that was taken out of your lungs biopsy, wherever it was taken out of. They look for a flaw in that, and then they feed you this stuff. Well, every now and again you get to somebody who doesn't have a flaw, and then they can just feed you chemo. So I'm one of those dudes. Always the lucky one. Anyway, what it can do is this medicine can take cancer and in a fairly basic way, sort of thing, go inside you and it can start pecking away at the outside, like a woodpecker. So it's like an antibiotic. Goes in there and just clicks, click, 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 click on the outside and says, we're going to do this to you. And it does. And it makes you better. Now in the world of cancer, there's these immunity systems that they use to attack it. And every now and again, these immunities, they fail. So they give it to you for 2 or 3 years, and it helps, keeps the cancer at bay. And it works well. I mean, really fucking wonderful stuff. And then all of a sudden it says, I don't work anymore. And then they go running around and they take another chunk of the cancer out and they quickly look at it again, and hopefully, if you're lucky, you get another thing that it can go and fight for. And every time it does this, it buys you years. So you have these little chunks of you taken out, and they get analyzed, and they find a flaw in it, and they attack that flaw. That's what it does. So how's cancer going to kill you? Cancer is going to kill you in quite a simple way. It starts out by creating a protected cell, which is called cancer. And that cell gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, it takes over whatever it's in, to the point that whatever it's in, it can't function anymore. So it's the end of you. Have a nice day. But these little things that they discover go in and they peck away at this thing, which keeps it at bay. Doesn't let it get to full size. Doesn't let it get to completely unruly. So I'm taking some of this stuff. This magic muti, which should defend me. Well, I hope it does. Anyway. So we're still doing chemo. Chemo is there. There's a gun. The chemo is there to destroy. And man, it does that pretty well. So chemotherapy is sort of a shotgun blast. It's not very it's not very accurate. A whole lot of crap comes out all in one shot and just goes, wow, hello. Whatever's in the way gets clubbed. But it does have some directable attributes in that it can generally try and look at particular kind of cells. So it does have some sort of protection in it. And then all the other people in the world have this targeted RNA system which they use, which is, it looks for a flaw in the cancer that attacks that flaw. And these things work well. I mean, man, they work well. But I can't use that, so I'm going to use something else. I'm going to use something that I'll probably have to take for the rest of my life. But it does some good things. prevents cancer from metastasizing, just like the RNA stuff does. And it goes, and it prevents it from moving around in your body. It's also pretty good at killing it. Just does it slowly. Yep. So that's where I'm going. I'm kind of made up my mind. Nothing else I can do. I've worked out what my value is, which is not a lot. I've worked out that my oncologist is not my savior. And I've worked out that if I want to survive this, I have to do some of this stuff myself. Jesus, who would have thought that would happen? I tell you what, though, not much scares me. Not much scares me, but one thing that I can't deal with is pain. And that brings me to another little terror that so the initial findings were, hey Mr. Murray, you've got cancer in your lungs. That's wonderful. And the next mystery finding was, hey Mr. Murray, you've got cancer in your bones. I know, that's wonderful. But then they went around with a hammer and a chisel and they took a whole lot of chunks of bone out of the back of my back. They didn't find any cancer. So does that mean I don't have cancer in my bone? And this is where the heebie-jeebies come in. Now the heebie-jeebies are lucid dreams. Where most of the dream you are screaming. It's very interesting waking up after one of those. You know those movies that the person goes to hell, and hell is this, place that it's just one long scream after the other. I've had some of those dreams. They are not nice. And the problem is rational doesn't fit. Doesn't work. Just because you had a test that showed there's nothing wrong with you, doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with you. Especially in these dreams. So do I have lung cancer? Well, apparently, because they showed me a fucking picture of it. It doesn't look like lung cancer to me. When they showed me this picture, and they told me, oh, there's lung cancer, it's right over there. And then they let some fucking idiot loose with a fucking chainsaw, went down my throat, into my lungs, carved out half brick sizes piece of my fucking lung to go and test for cancer. sent it off to test for cancer. That comes back with this wishy-washy, maybe could almost, I can squint and check carefully, it might be cancer kind of thing. As a report that I got back from what they dug out of my lungs. I mean, I don't think it said shit. I'd expect a report like that. Like, yeah, Mr. Murray, in this cell, you have this shit. And this shit's going to grow at this rate, and it's going to fuck around at this rate, and it's going to kill you on day 47. I mean, that's what I expect to get out of this stuff. I mean, that's what the test shows, isn't it? You have this thing, so that they know what the thing is. They know how fast the thing moves, and where it moves, and when it's going to move, and how much of you it's going to eat. But that's not what they put in the report. We looked for this, we didn't find it. We looked for that, we didn't find it. We looked for this, we didn't find it. We looked for this, we found that, but only 100 cells. So we'll call it cancer. I mean, that's what the fucking report says. So do I have cancer? Well, my brain tells me I do, because I'm having these fucking meltdowns in my dreams, in my sleep. The other thing I've noticed about cancer is nobody gives a fuck. I mean, that's probably the worst thing about the whole lot. Nobody gives a fuck. They really don't. So I'm supposed to have this damn stuff. Okay, that's wonderful. So I've been poked and prodded, and they've decided, okay, you definitely got this stuff. So now what do? Well, they go and take that information and they feed it off to Discovery, and Discovery says, well, okay, that's nice. Give us a plan on what you're going to do to this victim number, and then my name is put in there. And the doctor writes down the process of victimization that he's going to do. It doesn't tell me. He's not allowed to tell me. It tells my medical aid. My medical aid then comes back and says, that's exactly what we need. That's the one. That'll work. We agree. And here's the problem. Nobody does anything to anyone about anything, for anything, in any way, shape, or form, until their medical aid gives their approval. So, in the big scheme of things, I was diagnosed with cancer 2 months ago. Nothing's changed. I haven't swallowed a single medication from the oncologist in any way, shape, or form that could possibly fight that cancer off, kill it, stop it, throw it out, whatever it. There's none of that. That hasn't happened. We're not doing that yet. Why aren't we doing that? Well, Discovery's got to decide whether they agree with it or not. But in the meantime, I'm not allowed to do anything. So I can take my ferocious backache, which apparently is caused by the cancer, but I'm kind of questioning that at the moment. I can take my ferocious backache, which I think was caused by some little doctor sitting on my back with a fucking hammer and a needle trying to get a bone biopsy out of my back. I think that's what caused my back pain. No, we won't go there yet. I think that's what caused the problem in the first fucking place. But I'll take my backache, which doesn't go away until you swallow copious amounts of painkillers, which is another thing. So, painkillers. This has got to be some big pharma idea of good idea. So they make a painkiller. And that painkiller works. Fuck, it works well. So that's sorted. Not a fucking chance. So we've got this painkiller. And it turns the pain off. I mean, click. And it keeps it off for quite a substantial amount of time. Makes you a little sleepy initially. Fucks around with your word recall a little bit. But there's a painkiller. This stuff works. It also, coincidentally, is not addictive. So these are all pluses, right? These are wonderful ideas. Good things. So how could you possibly fuck that up? It works. Makes you feel good. Takes the pain away. Leaves you reasonably self-motivated. You can walk. You can go to the bathroom. All these nice things. No. If you're a large pharmaceutical company, you have to put a caveat into this whole fucking thing. So in order to be pain-free for a 24-hour period, you would need to take the tablets 4 times in 24 hours. Yeah. You would have to take it 4 times. And then you'd be off to the races. But on these particular painkillers, you don't get it 4 times. You get it 3. So for a quarter of the time, you need to be screaming. And for the other 3/4 of the time, your life's good. That's not weird. Why would somebody come up with that idea? Now, if you take it 4 times, which they do say you can, it's not too bad. It just tortures your liver to the point that it stops working. So if you'd like to still have your liver when you're finished with this sort of stuff, it's probably best not to even take it 3 times. It's best to take it twice. This is what I'm doing because I'm hoping I'll still have a liver at the end of the process. And a body that's still able to drive the liver to keep the rest of me alive. So I only take it twice a day. But that means that for half the day, I'm fairly well screaming. So my revelations for the day have been truly gifted. I have a value of none. My total value is absolutely zero. Once everybody has finished torturing me, pumping me full of poison, extracting as much possible money out of my medical aid, my value drops to zero. So that's an interesting thing. Over and above that, I have discovered that my oncologist does not have my best interests at heart. In fact, he has none of my interests at heart. His primary interest is his next Porsche payment and his skill, his 7 years of learning to become an oncologist. He has to know, he has to be good at knowing the right amount of poison to give me that will not kill me, might on a good day cure me, but most importantly will have me fully ready for my next application of poison in 2 weeks' time. And that's what he learned at doctor school. Well, that's all, folks. I'll wait for my next revelation. I'll post another one sometime. Just remember that to decode this thing, there'll be a caveat before this or after this, whatever, explaining the bit about the funny medicine. Have a lekker day.